Fox 2 presents Hancock and Kelly.
Good Sunday morning to you. Welcome to Hancock and Kelly on Fox 2, where we take on the top issues of the week. On the right, John Hancock.
Good morning.
On the left, Michael Kelly.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday indeed. I'm Andy Banker. On the agenda, the Missouri State Auditor is now looking into a whistleblower complaint about possible fraud in the city of St. Louis's handling of tens of millions of dollars in federal pandemic relief. We look at the Missouri governor's race. Is there actually a race at all? Vice President Harris embarks on a media blitz and hits a little rough sailing in the smooth political waters of The View. And our quote of the week is on a very hot topic now. The owners of the Kansas City Chiefs funding the effort to defeat the amendment to lift Missouri's abortion ban. Also, a heave-ho for Aldermanic President Megan Green and the politics of hurricanes. We begin with the Missouri State Auditor's Office now looking into a whistleblower complaint about potential fraud with the city of St. Louis doling out tens of millions of dollars in American Rescue Plan, or ARPA, federal pandemic relief funds.
I just think it's important to get that second set of eyes on this whole process. There's enough doubt now, that I think with this amount of smoke, we've just got to know where the truth lies.
State Rep Steve Butts of St. Louis brought the issue to the attention of the state auditor's office after widespread news media reports on the list of more than 430 grant recipients. Butts doesn't really consider himself much of a whistleblower, but he is in this case. Addresses on that list include empty buildings with unpaid property taxes. Also, it appears every applicant, even those who may be bogus, are getting at least $12,500 each. The city's development arm, the SLDC, or St. Louis Development Corporation, is handling the grant program and now conducting its own internal review, pointing out that fewer than $2.5 million of the money, more than $30 million, has actually gone out so far. John Butts tells me the old smell test led him to the auditor's office. What do you think?
Pretty stinky, Andy. It's pretty stinky. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? You got the folks running the city out there. Give them $30 million to hand out to people at empty buildings. We're going to find out, I predict. Don't know I have no inside information, but we're going to find out that there's connections here, that money is going to places that folks that are making the decisions know quite well. That's my prediction. This is not good.
The SLDC and Mayor Tishaura Jones both say they welcome an auditor's review. It's not an investigation yet. It's not an audit, but it may be coming.
Oh, they're going to have a lot of eyeballs, I think, looking into this program. Andy, remember what this was from? The pandemic. We're 3 years later. They're asking for a redo. Oh, pay no attention to the fact that these are abandoned buildings. What's most shocking to me about this is Mayor Jones ran on two central tenets. Number one, she wanted to fix the jail problem in the city of St. Louis. And number two, she wanted to help revitalize North City. On both instances, she continues to fail. And I don't understand how you can make these your priorities and then have this type of fiasco.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the three of us could have applied on some bogus address, and we would all get $12,500 at least. I mean, some are getting more than that, but everybody, more than 700 applicants, are apparently all getting at least that much.
It's ridiculous. I mean, you're looking at a pile of money here that the federal government doled out that they don't have, or deficit spending as it is. This was a terrible piece of legislation to start with in Washington. But now you've got these cities and in some cases states that are sitting on this money for multiple years, and they're just giving it away. It's absolutely the worst possible way to run a government.
Whether or not you like the policy of the money coming from the federal government to the city, what you have to be frustrated with is the process to get this money out. How did you, you didn't have enough time, 3 years to figure this out? This is just gross incompetence.
St. Louis Aldermanic President Megan Green is out of her second job as an adjunct professor at Washington University. Green, a progressive Democrat, was a prominent participant in the pro-Palestinian protests on the WashU campus in April. The university has now informed her they're avoiding the use of elected politicians as adjunct faculty members. Michael Green points out there are other WashU faculty members who hold elected office. She feels she's being targeted unfairly. Is she right?
No. I mean, this is a lady who goes and starts a protest, a near riot at her own employer. She understands the rules of what she was going to do, and now she wants to cry foul. This is a part of this society that people don't understand. There are consequences to our behavior, even for an elected official.
And she ripped the university and St. Louis police for being, as she said, heavy-handed in breaking up these protests that obviously had gotten way out of hand on other campuses across America.
Yes.
Wash, you saw this starting. It was like,
Yes.
no, we're putting it
This
out
is
right
this is a major blow to the foreign policy apparatus of the Board of Aldermen. I mean, these people are out there passing resolutions about Gaza, and they can't pave the roads. What was she teaching out there, Andy? Utopian socialism? I mean, she is. Thank goodness. If you have a student at Washington University, you don't have to sit through that anymore. Good decision by the college.
There is a point to be made, though, that they said, well, we don't want adjunct faculty members who hold elected office, but they're not getting rid of other elected office holders on their faculty.
Yeah,
Right,
because I don't know that it's a good to get rid of people who have experience. I know former politicians and current politicians who've taught at Washington University or St. Louis U, and that's a healthy thing to have in that environment. Unfortunately, folks like Megan Green spoil it.
But my point is, wouldn't it be better to
Just to
say,
be
hey,
honest. Just to be honest about
she's
it.
gone. We fired her.
That's exactly what they should have done.
Greater St. Louis Inc., which promotes economic development in St. Louis, is calling for about 85% of the city's share of the NFL legal settlement from the Rams' return to L.A. to be invested in downtown, North St. Louis, and Southeast St. Louis City. A new Greater St. Louis Inc. proposal would invest about $130 million in infrastructure, economic development, and housing improvements in North and Southeast City, along with about $100 million going to downtown for infrastructure. The city's initial $250 million share has reportedly grown to about $272 million now with interest. Greater St. Louis Inc. cites a recent poll showing 55% support for this idea, but an earlier online survey funded by the city of St. Louis showed strongest support for upgrading the city's crumbling water infrastructure. Do you have any problems with Greater St. Louis Inc.'s plan here, John?
No, not really. I mean, you got to use this for one-time purpose. You can't obligate yourself to ongoing spending for a one-time pot of money. And economic development, infrastructure seems to make sense to me. I just hope they don't give it out in $12,500 increments to anybody that's got a pin.
Greater St. Louis Inc. points out downtown generates 20% of the city of St. Louis's general fund revenue.
Yeah.
They get about 5% of the city's expenditures. Is downtown getting shafted here? Do they need some of that?
Oh, they
Rams
definitely
money?
need the money. And I think Greater St. Louis's broad concept here is right on and what should be done. And investing in the place that's not only the beacon of the city, but is the beacon of the entire region. And these resources make sense there. So a lot of people say, hey, we ought to be saving this money for a rainy day. Hey, folks, it's pouring. Let's figure this out. At the same time, I'm not sure that Greater St. Louis thought this process out and then correlated the Board of Aldermen because they got a nice little pat on the head and a slap on the back on at the door.
And doesn't it matter who's going to administrate this, facilitate
Well,
this? You don't want to go through SLDC now, do you?
No. And you're kind of stuck with the crew that's running the show right now, and, heaven help them.
Yeah, but hopefully in a situation like this with private interests invested, we can avoid a lot of the incompetence that's being reflected in our government.
All right, Missouri is one of the states that elects a governor in the same year we elect a president of the United States. This has been one of the quietest governor's races ever in Missouri, with Democrat Crystal Quade trying to defeat the heavy favorite, Republican Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe. We're starting to hear a little noise. Quade has just launched a campaign, an ad, tying her candidacy to Amendment 3, the proposal before voters to lift Missouri's total abortion ban. Michael, one recent poll shows Kehoe with a 10-point lead, but Amendment 3 with a 13-point lead, 20% undecided. Should Democrats be making more of a stink in this race?
Well, I think that Democrats are putting up a fight, and Crystal has her ads on and is making that case. I think she's also a victim of the circumstances of the times we're in, Andy. Governor's races used to be kind of exclusive to states. They've now become kind of federalized. And as go the blue and the red states, go the resources that come. And unfortunately, we haven't seen significant money invested in a governor's race from outside since, I guess it was Eric Greitens' first run that with what was her name? The auditor.
Nicole Galloway.
Nicole Galloway.
Yeah.
Was the last time we saw significant funds invested, and I think she's just a victim of the circumstances of the times and location.
Shouldn't there be more of a battle here? And if Democrats can't win with Amendment 3 on the ballot, a statewide race, are they ever going to?
They're not going to win. There are 5 Democratic state senators that have more money in the bank than any of the Democrats running for statewide office. Think about that for a minute. And she just simply doesn't have the resources. And most of the governor's races are on the off cycle. And so these committees, the Democratic Governors Association and the Republican Governors Association, tend to husband that money because their big cycle is coming up in 26.
Up next, former President Donald Trump campaigns in Michigan but insults Detroit, the state's largest city. And Vice President Kamala Harris agrees to what was supposed to be a series of friendly interviews, but things didn't really go quite as she planned.